Hello friends, my name is Shilpa Kakkar. I am from M.B.Patel English Medium Secondary and Higher Secondary School. Today we are going to discuss third chapter of history. The name of the chapter is Arrival of Europeans in India. We are going to learn in this chapter the advent of Portuguese, advent of Dutch, advent of British and advent of French. Later on, how British expanded their empire over here and established their empire in India. How they have established their supremacy in Bengal. How, at the time of Warren Hastings, the extension was done in India, their victory over Sindh, and Dalhousie's annexation policy, which is also known as Khalsa policy. Now let us see in detail the chapter. In 1453, Turk conquered Constantinople. Constantinople was a place which was known as gateway to Europe. It was a connecting line between East and West. They have exploited different sea routes to spicy centers like India and Indonesia. At that time, Indonesia was known as East Indies. 15th century became the time when there was advancement in shipbuilding and technology. Different countries started searching for new routes, and they have discovered new sea routes to different places. The initiative was taken by Portuguese, Spain, and later on by different people from different countries. Henry the Navigator from Portuguese gave a good support to Vasco da Gama, and he had given all the financial and the different aids which he required to find the new sea routes towards India. Columbus of Spain in 1492 reached America. Till he lived, he thought it was America. Later on it was discovered and found that it was not America. America was discovered by Amerigo Vespucci. That is why America was named after him. Later on, when in 1498 Vasco da Gama reached India, he reached to the south of India, Calicut, and there he took the permission to trade in India. He named that place as Cape of Good Hope. He came to India. At that time, Zamaron was the ruler. He with great difficulty, they got the permission to trade in India. They established their trading centers at Calicut, Cochin, Goa, Daman, and Diu. Later on, when they found that they are earning good profit, they took the advantage of that. They established their colony in India, and Portuguese government appointed Almeida as the first governor in India. With the help of the naval force, they started ruling over the seas of India and established their rule in India. Later on, after Almeida, Alfonso Albuquerque won Goa and made it a capital of Portugal state in India in 1510. They took the advantage of the soft corner given by the Indians, and they did not give up till they had to face British. Later on, they ruled over the sea coast of India for around 100 years. With the advent of British, the change again came up. As Portuguese ruled for 100 years, Later on, attracted after attracted with the profit earned by the Portuguese, Dutch jumped into the trading war. The people from Holland entered in world trade in later 16th century, in later half of the 16th century we can say. Till that time, Portuguese were ruling. They were the first one to advent. As I discussed earlier also, Henry the Navigator, the Prince of Portuguese, gave support to such navigation, and he also gave the financial aid to such people. As they established rule over here, Dutch were attracted with that. They came in India and they broke the Portuguese trade and took over business. They established Dutch East India Company and established their power also over here in India. They gave very tough challenge to Portuguese. Not only that, Dutch pushed the Portuguese from Java and Sumatra and established its monopoly in the prosperous spices centers of Java and Sumatra. They gave a tough challenge in India also to Portuguese. They not only pushed them out from Indonesia, which is also known, which was at that time known as East Indies, they pushed them from India also. They established their trading centers at Surat, Bharuch, Khambat, Cochin, and Ahmedabad. So this is how the war between Portuguese and Dutch continued. They were fighting for establishing their colonies over here in India, as they were earning a lot of profit from it. When the other countries saw this, that Portuguese and the people from Holland are earning a lot of profit, they got attracted towards India too. And Asia became the center of attraction at that time because it was rich in minerals and spices. That is why India was known as the land of sparrow. Attracted with the profit of Portuguese and Dutch, there came British. They established their trade relation with India with great difficulty. They had to fight with Portuguese and Dutch because they were already established over here. They made their colonies and they were ruling in some parts of India also. So it was not an easy task for British to establish their trading centers over here in India. They desired to establish good relations with India, and with that motive only they entered India. They first established merchant adventures, which was later on known as British East India Company. It was the Royal Charter Act, a special act passed by Queen Elizabeth at that time to trade with India in 1600. After that, the first factory was established at Surat, and Jahangir gave them the permission to establish the factory in Surat. As we all know, that British Emperor was very good at politics. They had proved themselves a very good politician all over the world, as they had established many colonies all over the world, not only in Asia. Charles II married Portuguese princess, and Portuguese gave the island of Bombay as dowry to the British. Later on, with the help of them, Portuguese were thrown away, and they were thrown away from Goa, Daman and Diu. After throwing away Portuguese, there was a struggle between Dutch and British. British wanted to have supremacy over Indonesia also. So it started interfering in Indonesia also. Dutch could not stand it. And there was a fight between Anglo-Dutch. This war resulted into no interference treaty. As Indonesia was the center and the supremacy was of Dutch at that time, they signed the treaty that British are not going to interfere in Indonesia, the spice center of that time, and Dutch are not going to interfere in Indian centers of Britain. So this treaty was signed that none of them will interfere in each other's territories and keep on trading on their own. So both of them were benefited by this war because it was not won or loss, but it was with the mutual consent and understanding that both of them have divided their areas. They divided their areas and continued to rule there. Friends, in this session, we learned about the advent of Portuguese, Dutch, British, and we have learned that how they have established their supremacy in their areas. They had a tough time with each other, but slowly and steadily they established their rule over here in India. In the next lesson, we'll talk about the other remaining topics. Till then, bye.